Alrighty. Welcome to what week is this? Week 10. There we go. All right. So week 10 is the week of Veterans Day. So you have no school on Thursday, which is Veterans Day, and then Friday. So that's November 11th and 12th. So unless you were my B Day students, you will not see me. You'll only see me once. B Day, I will see you on Monday and Wednesday. So, the way I'm breaking it down, because I want to make sure that my B Day classes are not like ahead of A Day. Um, we actually did not get to this lesson, my fifth and sixth period class. So we're going to do this on Wednesday and then kind of just use the rest of class as a work time because it's also going to be late start day, which means we have a shorter class period than normal. But, anyways, for Monday and Tuesday, for both of you, both A and B Day, we are going to talk about a little project that we're going to do that's going to kind of help warm us up to writing an essay for our book once we finish reading it. We're going to read chapters 11 and 12. We're going to read both of them all on the same day because they're about 10 minutes long, so we'll be able to knock it out. And then we have another writer's workshop of notes. We're going to be talking about textual evidence. So that is kind of the deal for this week. Please read chapter 10 as homework. That chapter, we have a few chapters that are coming up that are very short. So if you could read that one at home, that would be great. It's going to be 10 minutes long. This over here is for anyone who's pursuing honors credit. You're not going to necessarily use this week, but it's good to have the code. So you can take a picture of that if you need to or write it down. Also, I want to just kind of so last week, sorry, my brain's a little all over the place today. Last week, in your second period, you should have had whoever you have for that class talk to you about like school expectations and what's expected of you in terms of the 4 Titan or 5 Titan values that we have at West. And I just want to kind of go off of that, but from just myself and my own thoughts. This year, it has been so incredible to be back together again on campus and to be like 5 days a week instead of just hybrid like how we ended in the spring. But I just want to remind you that we are kind of having to relearn how to be students and how to be at school because it really has been. This is basically the third year that you have not had a normal school year. The first one was 2019-2020 where everything just shut down, and then we had last year, and now we have this year. And even though we're back on campus 5 days a week, we're wearing masks, and there's the COVID protocols, and things are still not normal, quote unquote normal. And so I just want to remind you that we obviously have had some issues in school, like the fireworks situation that brought the fire trucks out and we had to go out evacuate. We've had vandalism problems with TikTok trends that are pretty horrible. And I know that for at least for my classes, I don't think anyone was involved with that because I know who you are and what you're like. But I just want to first let me say that I am really proud of you. I can't imagine being in your shoes, being in high school, and having to deal with all this. And I think, given the circumstances, you're handling it really well. So I just want you to remember those expectations, what is expected of you in different areas, and to give yourself grace, but to again remind yourself of what is expected. So I know with distance learning, we probably treated all of our classes like a podcast or an audiobook. You just throw it on in the background and you do something else. You were on your phone. You didn't have the requirement to have your cameras on. And so I know what that's like because I was a college student not that long ago, and I know what it's like to be online. So just a friendly reminder, unless I ask you to go on your phone should be put away in class. You should be actively engaged. I give you those 2 5-minute breaks for that whole purpose of going on your phone if you want to. So all that to say, it's been a very difficult last 3 years, and we're all kind of relearning what it means to be in school. So I'm proud of you. Just give yourself some grace and remember what is expected of you. Okay, so we are going to talk about a little project that we're going to do that's going to lead us into writing an essay for the book once we finish it, which that will be in a couple weeks. So Trevor, in his book, obviously he's talking about his life. It's an autobiography, but he talks at length about his mom, who is a very, very important person in his life. inspired him in a lot of ways. And the only way that he could have brought her up so many times and talk about her life in depth is if he had asked her questions. You have to ask questions in order to know those things, especially about your parents, because sometimes parents aren't so willing to share. You have to ask questions. So we're going to have the opportunity to do what Trevor did, to ask questions of a person who we look up to, somebody who inspires us. And I'm calling it an inspiration interview. That's the very quick title I came up with for this project. So this is what's going to happen. You are going to choose somebody in your life. So this can't be like a famous person unless you know a famous person. Somebody in your life that you look up to, someone who inspires you. This could be a parent, it could be a coach that you have, a mentor, a sibling, a friend, anybody in your life that you genuinely look up to. They inspire you. There's things about them and the way that they live their life that you would like to imitate and model. And you are going to ask that person, you can't assume, ask that person if you can interview them. And these are the questions that you're going to ask. You're going to ask them, what was a positive and negative experience you had growing up that largely shaped who you are today? So they should give you 2 examples, one positive, one negative. Ask them what values in life are important to you. Things like examples could be integrity, respect, work ethic, forgiveness, whatever it is for them. Ask them what those values are. And then we're going to ask them our 2 essential questions. How does empathy change the way that we view and interact with others? And to what extent is our identity shaped and impacted by culture and society? And this assignment is going to have an honors extension assignment. So for the regular, everybody's doing this no matter what. You will be asking those questions, and after you have conducted your interview, you're going to summarize all those answers in a short written essay. It needs to be 2 pages minimum, double spaced, 12-point font, Times New Roman, and everything needs to be formatted in APA because we're going to practice that again. The APA title page does not count as one of your pages, so you have to have the title page and then 2 pages of written summary of whatever happened in your interview. If you are doing honors credit for English 11, you're going to do all of this and then extend it. So instead of 2 pages minimum, you're going to have 3 pages minimum, not including the title page. You are going to ask those 4 questions on the previous slide, but then you are also going to ask 3 more questions. So that should be 7 total. And these are questions that you come up with. So you know who your person is. Maybe let's say you're interviewing your mom and you know that there was something that happened in her life when she was in middle school and it was really transformative, but you can't remember what exactly. You could make one of your questions be specifically about that. It depends on who the person is and what your relationship is with them. But 3 additional questions. And then you need to have somewhere in your essay a paragraph explaining why you chose to interview that person and explaining kind of your reasoning behind the questions that you came up with. So that is the assignment. You need to decide by the end of the day on either Monday or Tuesday, depending on when I have you, who you're going to interview, and you need to ask that person. So if it's a parent, send them a text or talk to them when you get home. If it's a friend, a sibling, you need to ask them by the end of the day if you can interview them. And your paper is going to be due on November 29th, which is a Monday. It's after Thanksgiving. I don't like to assign any type of work. Obviously, I don't like to assign homework in general, but I don't like to assign work over Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, any of that, because you deserve it. It is a break. That's what it's called. But just know I'm giving you a big chunk of time to get this done, and that is part of it. So you just need to use your time wisely. I totally think that you could accomplish the interview and writing your paper while avoiding having to work on it during Thanksgiving break, but it's kind of up to you and how you roll. So another thing to let you know, I still have a few people that were wanting a physical copy of the book itself, not just a printout. And lucky you, our library is getting a ton of new books, and we just got a shipment of like 300 Trevor Noah books. So if you want one and you haven't had one yet, please, it's not too late. Go to the library and check one out. Okay, so we are going to be reading chapter 11. It's called Outsider. So pause this video and read the chapter if you were gone the day that we did this. So Trevor recognized in this chapter that one thing that allowed him to feel somewhat like he belonged was humor. He said, "For me, it was humor. I learned that even though I didn't belong to one group, I could be a part of any group that was laughing. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't an outcast. I was everywhere with everybody, and at the same time, I was all by myself." So I want you to describe to me, how does Trevor use this chameleon metaphor? He uses it on the same page, just not in this quote, to describe his social life in this chapter. Okay, so now we're going to do our writer's workshop. So these are going to be notes that you will fill in the blanks on your slides. And I want to say, I looked through all of your responses when I asked you, what is your opinion on writing and what do you struggle with? A lot of us, we're kind of all over, but a large portion of us struggle with just starting, whether that be with figuring out what to write about or just starting your intro paragraph. And that's totally normal. Again, there's also a spectrum. A lot of us don't necessarily hate writing. It's just that it's kind of difficult, or you say, I don't like it because I'm not good at it. So I wasn't super shocked to hear what you had to say. But these are my thoughts that I want to share with you. Writing is difficult no matter how good you are at it. I think I'm a good writer. I obviously love it. I chose to be an English teacher, but I am not. It's never easy for me, and it's not easy for anybody who they do that as a living. Published authors, people that are in journalism, writing is difficult no matter who you are or how long you've been able to do it. It's difficult. And something else that I want to stress to you over and over again, it is all about the revision process. You need to write first and edit later. Just get your thoughts down on paper. Don't worry about being perfect right off the bat, because you won't be. And then you can go back and figure out, how do I want to change this and revise this and edit it the way that I really want it to look like. So always, always focus on writing it first, then revising later. So we're going to talk about strong and thorough textual evidence, picking the best guest speakers. So what does that mean? Evidence, those are the guest speakers, the sources and the evidence that you have to support your thesis. It should prove your claim. You need to have strong and thorough. Strong meaning reliable evidence that directly supports the claim, and thorough meaning enough evidence to fully prove. So you have to have a combination of those two things. If you had me last year, which a good portion of you did, you hopefully will remember this, or maybe it'll spark some deep memory in your mind. When we talked about argumentative writing last year, there are 5 types of evidence: facts, numbers, examples, quotes, and analogies. And there is also 3 different categories of persuasion in terms of picking your evidence: logos, pathos, and ethos, which is also something we talked about last year, if you had me. Logos is all about logic and reason. Pathos is about empathy and emotion. And ethos is all about expertise and education. So these are things that I want you to avoid when we're looking at trying to find strong evidence. Obvious common information that is kind of just like common sense. Why do we really even need to say that? Anything that is irrelevant, which doesn't sound like, that kind of sounds like common sense itself, but it must be said. Anything that is not relevant to what you're talking about, you don't need to bring it up. Info that's on topic but doesn't prove the claim is also not helpful. Citing evidence without a purpose. If you're just citing stuff to cite stuff, it's not going to support what you're trying to communicate. Citing long quotes to take up space. I see this a lot. There's a way to cite long quotes, and it's not that it's impossible or not a thing. It's just you can't do it frequently. And using a random person's opinion. This is where ethos comes into play. We have to have somebody that's an expert. They have experience. They have understanding and background in whatever it is you're talking about. So this part, I'm going to run through it quickly because it's an in-class activity that's like a group activity. So you can still see what the results are, but it's not an activity you can do via your Google Slides. So here are some examples. I won't necessarily talk through them at length in this video, but you can take a look at them. Pause this video and take a look. So the claim is for the American Dream example that it's an illusion due to severe economic inequality. The top is a weak form of evidence and the bottom is strong. This is an example for school start times. social media use, affordable college. And this is a really good checklist to have in mind when you are looking at your evidence. Does it support your position? Are you using different types of evidence to prove your claims? As a reminder, there are 5 different types. Is the evidence the best available, or should you do some more research? And are you using your evidence with a purpose? So we are now going to read chapter 12. This is kind of a funny chapter, very relatable, I think. So go ahead and pause this video and read the chapter. So Trevor says, 10 words that might have changed my life if I had had the courage to say them, but I hadn't, and now she was gone. What can you relate to in this story? Have you ever experienced something similar? A moment where you should have been honest about your feelings but didn't say anything? So go ahead and respond to that in this box. Okay, and then this is the slide where you are going to tell me you need to decide by the end of the day on Tuesday, who are you going to interview? So obviously you need to ask them. You can't just assume that they'll let you interview them. So I plan to interview, and tell me who. Okay, this is just for my B-Day students because A-Day, 4th period, we already did this. The plagiarism lesson, I can't go through it on the video because it's an in-class activity and you have to have this paper handout. So if you were gone on Wednesday this week, please let me know and I can help you out with this. All right, that should be everything for week 10. If you have any questions, please let me know.